10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Johnny Pompous. What's going on, everybody? This is Johnny Pompous, and you're listening to the Johnny Pompous Show. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Again, this is one of those moments where I can't really hear what the listeners are replying with, so kind of bear with me on that. Anyways, do have a guest tonight. His name is Nicholas Crenson, and I do believe we have him on the line. Nicholas, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, sir. How are you tonight?
I am doing wonderful. How are you, Mr. Pompous?
Man, I'm doing great, and can't lie. It's been a great day. It's been a great week, truthfully. So I've got no complaints.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Absolutely. So we're just going to kind of dive right in. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Nicholas Crenson. I've been doing backyard wrestling on and off for about almost 18 years now. I started in 2004. I actually started a small little group called WXW, not any relation to the Germany promotion.
Okay.
Done by just a couple of friends of mine, me, another backyard wrestler by the name of Mikey Genocide or Maniac Mike, and our friend Brandon Darko, B-Rock. They don't wrestle anymore, but both of them, I will say this, they were fun to be around back in the day. Then, like, just actually not even a few months after we did that, we got invited to this place I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin, and there was this, well, first there was my good friend Eric. He had an uncle who was doing a backyard wrestling fed that they actually had their own ring in the backyard of their place. They actually built it from scratch, and honestly, it was kind of amazing to watch back then. Actually, there were a few notable names that came in the indie scene that came from there. One actually ended up in WWE for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then but myself, me, Mike, and Brandon, we ended up actually wrestling in another time called YWL. We met this guy named Bizzo Blaze. He actually had a massive garage built, and he completely built his own rings. Did the basically all the forge work for it and everything. And honestly, it was some of the funnest times in my life. I wrestled there for from 2004 up until the mid 2006 into middle of 2007. I took some time off just because of personal issues I was dealing with at the time. I wrestled again in 2009 and 2012, and then this past 2019, after a car accident, I actually went and started to get properly trained. That kind of got put on the pretty much back burner kibosh when the world went to hell.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like you've been around for a lit'd bit now. How'd you get into wrestling to begin with?
So I can actually pinpoint the match that first got me into wrestling. One night, me and my dad were just sitting down watching TV, and he was flipping through channels, and he turned on Nitro. And it was the Nitro where Goldberg defeated Hulk Hogan for the WCW title.
Oh, yeah.
Just watching that kind of made me think, oh, that's kind of cool. Now, that was the match that introduced me to wrestling. The match that really got me to fall in love with wrestling, and this might be a odd one for some people, but it is from ECW at the Hammerstein Ballroom in 2000. It's actually the match where Carino challenged Justin Credible for the ECW World Title, and they managed to turn somebody who was so despised as Carino into this lovable babyface by the end of that match.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've actually seen that one.
It's one of the few examples I can say is like I am kind of one of those people who says blood in wrestling is good when it means something, and that's one of those matches with the blood in it that actually helped the story.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I can actually agree with that. So, what promotion are you currently working with?
I am currently working with WCE. You actually just had one of our other wrestlers on here recently, Shawn Jovi.
Shawn Jovi, yes, sir. Okay.
And I believe you. Yeah, I'm
go
currently
ahead.
working at WCE. We just finished our first season. We have our first show back is actually coming up April 30th, and I'm in one of the 2 title matches in the show. You already know about the 4-way. I'm in the match to determine what is going to be known as the Wisconsin Night Championship. It's going to be me against Craven Rage.
Oh, so you're going for the little piece of the gold.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, good luck to you on that. I'll be sure to check that out and definitely see how you do. We'll be pulling for you. So how long have you been with WCE?
So I basically, when the talks of WCE, or we didn't even know what it was going to be at first, but when we first started discussing something possible, because my one of the guys there, the one who wanted to start it, he was messaged me about like, hey, I'm interested in starting something up. But, what do you think? And I mentioned to him for a while. There was this group in Wisconsin called ABW who went down, and they had a wrestling ring for sale, and that's how me, Jovi, Shawn Jovi, Craven, and another guy we work with, James Marshall. We all kind of started discussing the possibility of buying the ring, and we discussed it with the guy who owned the ring at the time. His name was Chris Burden, and we basically ended up getting a really good deal on the ring. I think we paid in total about $600.
Oh, wow. That's a steal.
Yes, I want to say, because it's actually a ring from Monster Rings. It's one of their low boy rings, and we looked at what like one of those rings would cost new.
Those are usually about a $2,500 or $2,500 $3,000 ring generally.
Yeah, yeah, and we went with the one we got. It's actually a 16 by 16 ring, and honestly, I almost want to say that it's probably almost the second best ring I've ever been in, as far as aesthetic wise, and the low boy style I kind of like, but it's also just from the feel of the ring. Some rings are just better to bump in than any other.
No, you're not wrong there. Absolutely not wrong. They're all. I mean, on one hand they're all the same, but on the other hand they're all kind of different. And they always got a different feel to them.
That is true.
Okay, so far in your career, what would you say your proudest moment thus far has been, or do you think that you've captured your proudest moment yet?
I don't know if I have, but so far in my career, the out of everything I've done, my proudest moment will actually be back in 2005. It was actually one of the first times I actually got to main event a YWL show. It was me and another wrestler by the name of Mad Cow, Eric Schwartz. This is about the time when I kind of finally got my groove in the ring of figuring out what I like, what my style is in certain areas, and what I can do and what I can't do. Um, we were just told, hey, go out there, you're gonna have a street fight, have fun. Have fun, just try to go and do what you can do best. And it was actually, Cal was actually one of the only people I've ever actually hit the move on. It was actually the first time I've ever done a Canadian destroyer.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's usually a devastating move.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever actually won a match with it right out though. That's the funny
Oh,
thing.
okay. Well, I mean, that's all right. Now I know, like, whenever you were introducing yourself, you were talking a little bit about some injuries that you had sustained. But it didn't sound like. I mean, I know you had mentioned the car accident, so it didn't sound like they were wrestling related. Have you actually sustained any from wrestling?
Actually, I did. I've had three notable injuries in wrestling. Uh, Actually, all three happened around the same time frame, 2006, 2007. The very first one I had was taking a bulldog. Surprisingly, I ended up breaking my nose.
Oh,
Um, yeah. The second injury I ended up had was during a match with a wrestler by the name of Timothy Mecca. It was me and him for the title, and at one point in the match, he gave me a suplex, and I landed wrong in the ring somehow. Like, I took the bump, looked great, but it was the part of the ring I landed in just completely threw my back to heck.
mm.
And then the third one, and probably the most gruesome looking one, was in May of 2007. We were doing a show called Fantasies at this like soccer venue, and we were doing a TLC match. And the basically what happened was I was in a headlock with a ladder teetering over another ladder below me. My partner ended up getting dropped on the other end of the ladder, and the ladder actually managed to destroy my head.
Oh,
But yeah,
I
I
just got a
ended
mental
up.
picture of that. That doesn't seem
Yeah,
like it was very pleasant.
luckily it wasn't like Joey Mercury style destroyed.
That's
It
good.
basically caught. Yeah, and I also luckily I didn't actually get a concussion from that. But what happened was it caught me right on the like right up above my hairline, and I actually got taken out of the match. I kind of wish I would have stayed in, but I got taken out of the match because I was just pouring blood like no tomorrow. Ended up having to have like 5 stitches for like a 2.5 centimeter gash in my head.
Oh, I mean, that's just the nature of the game. Sometimes, I mean, it's never fun when it happens, but if it never happened, I mean, it wouldn't be a physical contact. I mean, it's just one of those things. Um, okay. Do you have any past or currently ongoing rivalries going on? Like, any beef with anybody currently?
So currently, I am in a rivalry with Craven Rage. Originally, their match was supposed to be for like a number one contender spot, but then WCE management decided to make it for one of the other titles that they were bringing in. Um, Basically, it's his. Well, he's kind of changed his shtick, but his whole shtick was basically he was terrifying. Ooh, everybody's scared of him. And one thing with me is I am not somebody who actually gets scared at all. There's few things that can actually scare me, and I kind of singled him out just for the fact because I know he liked to play mind games, and I'm also somebody who likes to play mind games. But I'm more of in a way trying to help the person I'm playing mind games with, but this time around, it's more just trying to one up him.
Well, it actually sounds like a pretty good pair up, truthfully.
And
And you
as for,
guys, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as for past rivalries, Mad Cow, I that match I mentioned was actually just the start of like several matches we've had over the years. Another good recent rivalry I've had was with James Marshall or Catalyst. I've faced him a few times in the past year, and then I also had one of the main programs into our last October shows was me and Shawn Jovi.
Okay. Now you and Craven, you said that's who you were going up against for the title on April 30th, correct?
Correct.
So yeah, that definitely sounds like it's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm really going to check that out. I mean, with the way you're describing him, the way you're describing yourself, and it's for a title, that's got the makings of a good match right there. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Now I've actually, I've been in the ring with a lot of guys. I've shared the locker room with a lot of guys, and I know a lot of guys, they all have a different thing, like a pre-match, pre-show kind of ritual. Do you have anything like that?
Basically, I try to stretch before shows. I will kind of just go somewhere and just talk to kind of talk to myself. But the other thing I kind of like to do is I will watch old like different just a whole bunch of wrestling. Like it doesn't matter if it's like current stuff like WWE, AEW. I will also go back and look up old All Japan matches. I'll look up old New Japan matches. I will just study in ring work. I'll study study the psychology. I will study promos and just study wrestling in general.
I mean, honestly, that's not on that's not 100% unheard of. I mean, that's a good way to kind of get in a good mindset before show and kind of get in there and just get it done. I mean, you've got that, you're pumping yourself up, whether it's watching your past matches or watching somebody else who you kind of, look at as a role model. It kind of helps, embody and emulate what you're going for. So, and yeah, that's definitely a good way to do it. Now, I know you said that you've got the upcoming event on April 30th. Do you have anything else upcoming? Maybe it doesn't have to be wrestling related. Like, what are you currently working on?
Pretty much right now, all I pretty much do is, I work at my job currently, and then I also sometimes do some live streaming on Twitch, but I haven't done that in a while. I'm trying to get some projects together that I'm slowly working on building up to. Other than that, besides that, one thing I have been keeping an eye on is there's a backyard wrestling fed out of Indiana by the name of XCW. They're based out of a place called Shelbyville. I've been kind of keeping an eye on them because they have kind of some of their wrestlers have actually kind of fallen under my on my radar, and also I want to say Shawn Jovi's radar because we've been kind of talking about maybe taking a trip out to that area at some time during the year just to maybe see what we can do and also just to check it out.
Now that's interesting. So, planning on making a journey to Indiana to check out another Fed. That's not. I mean, that's again. I mean, it's not a super unheard of thing, but I mean, it's not really a super duper common thing either. I mean, years and years ago, when we did the backyard, we ended up finding a group on YouTube and talking to them for a little bit, and we were able to go down there. We did a show with them, and then a couple months later, they came down, down here, and they did a show with us. I mean, yeah, I mean that happens. I mean, it's networking. It's a good way to make contacts. It's a great way to, kind of spice up events, make those super shows. So yeah, I mean, definitely keep me updated on that. I actually heard of the backyard wrestling group of XCW. We actually have here in Indiana. We actually have a professional promotion that goes by XCW as well.
Oh, you're actually based in Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Oh, nice.
But all right, so tell me some long-term goals for Nicholas Crenson.
So I can obviously state the one long-term goal right now is to become the first ever Wisconsinite champion. But it's not so much because I want to hold the title. It's because I am of the mindset if I get a title now, when I get a title, it's not about, hey, this is going to help me get money, help me become more popular and stuff like that. It's more of how can I build this? How can I make this important? How can I help build WCE up more and more, help build the stars on our roster more and more, and using the belt we can make the belt, the first champion has always got the stress of trying to establish it, and I want to establish it not as like a mid-card title. I want to establish it as a title, that the one of the titles to go for. Yes, we've got the interstate title, but I want this title to be a title that people are going, hey, I want a shot at that. I want to be able to raise the stock of not just myself. I want to raise the stock of everybody that is on that roster that I possibly can. There's actually a few people on that roster that I'm actually hoping that I get to work with if I when and if I do win the title. Um, uh, just to name a couple, Adonis Filios, Dash Andrews, Belial, and Darkfire.
Okay, so you're just wanting to build up that prestige of that particular belt,
Yes,
kind of
correct.
attract competitors to it, so that way. Okay, that's the way to do it, especially with a brand new title. You want to build up the prestige and reputation of that title and make everyone go, man, that's the belt to hold right there, and I got to beat that guy to get it. Okay, now I know. So you're in WCE, so I know that group, the YouTube channel for that is the youtube.com/RCW rules, and that's RULZ. Do you happen to have, do you have a personal YouTube that you upload your stuff on that you want to go ahead and let people know?
Not right now. I'm still working on it. But if we ever talk again, I'll definitely will probably be able to plug it then. Um, but yeah, right now I'm still kind of working on things on it. So before I actually release anything, I want to actually have it ready.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get that. Now, I know what you said your long term goals are for Nicholas Crenson. Um, what are your long term goals for WCE as a whole?
I want us to be. I want WCE to be something. It's kind of hard to be this, but I want us to be something unique in even in backyard wrestling. Um, I've said time and time again, there's certain tropes in wrestling that I'll say this time and time again. There are certain tropes in wrestling that are just old hat and kind of I feel are used too much, and there's some that aren't used enough. Um, like I don't want us to be the Fed that's known for hardcore matches. We will do those eventually, but I want us to be the Fed that is when people look at it, they're like, oh man, those are some interesting characters, interesting stories. You know, the storytelling, the matches are pretty good. And as a whole, I want us to be able to say, hey, we've put on something amazing and we are telling such a good story here that yeah, we're yarders, but look at the story we're trying to tell.
Okay, that's definitely a good goal. I mean, that's definitely a great aspiration to have. And I really hope you guys get there. I truly do. I mean, I've watched a good amount of the content that you guys have on the YouTube, and truthfully, I mean, I'm seeing some stuff in your group that I haven't seen in other backyard groups. So, that's always a plus. That is always a plus. I think if you guys, I know you were talking a little bit ago, like whenever you were introducing yourself, you were talking about you actually had some professional training going on. If you don't mind me asking, so I know you said that kind of there's a hold on that right now, but if you don't mind me asking a little bit more about that.
So I was training. If you want to know where I was training, I was actually training at a place called ACW, which is run by Dylan Postal, aka Hornswoggle.
Okay.
Just with the pandemic and the fact that I was high risk when the pandemic first started, I basically felt it was more good to just leave it for now. I will give them all the wrestlers in ACW are fantastic. I will say that, and all the people that train there are actually pretty cool.
If there was something that you could accomplish, I know this kind of touches back on goals, but if there was something that you could accomplish with wrestling, let's say in the next 2 to 5 years, what would it be?
Well, honestly, with WCE in general and just wrestling in general, I want to. You could say you want to make a name for yourself, but I want to create like memorable moments for my memorable moments for people who are watching my stuff. But also, I ultimately want to like I said, I want to win the Wisconsin Net title. I want to win the interstate title. If there's tag titles, and eventually I would love to find a partner and win those. I want to help establish titles. I want to help add to the prestige of championships. I want to be able to tell a story that makes people go, huh, that is actually pretty amazing. Like, for me, it's not what I never think of what goals I could, what can I do for me. I am looking at the bigger picture of what can I do for everything in this place.
I mean, that's a good way to be. I mean, absolutely. There's a lot to be said about being a team player and, putting the, rather than thinking of yourself as a piece of the puzzle and just focusing on you as a piece, thinking of that whole picture in general. That's the way to do it, man. That's the way to make things great.
Definitely.
And what I'm going to say about you guys, because like I said, I've watched a lot of your content. It's not the typical backyard wrestling. Like when you go to YouTube and type in backyard wrestling, what you're seeing a lot is guys like going out there clearly not knowing what they're doing, beating the crap out of each other, doing really, really unsafe stuff. You guys, number one, biggest thing that's separating you from the other backyard groups right now is the gear. I mean, I'm seeing your guys out there in actual gear. I'm seeing guys, in an actual ring, and that shows respect for the craft. And that is a big plus with anybody watching. I'll just let you know that.
Into a direction where it's going to give it a little bit of a unique spin to it. Like, not being the typical, quote unquote villain and not being the typical quote unquote good guy. I like to make things different in a way that we're not going the same route that we always go.
I mean, that's the best way to do it. I mean, always look for ways to innovate, always look for ways to make things better. If you can come up with something that hasn't been done, or you can come up with something that you just don't see anymore, that's a good way to stand out as well, and that's a good way to make things a little more special.
Exactly, like I was saying, not being a typical, villain. Like I took inspiration actually from a couple things. Chris Jericho, just because he's probably one of the most inspirational characters in wrestling history, but also over the past several years, I actually got into the show Doctor Who, and just the two big characters, and they're the Doctor and the Master. They were done in such a way that their characters aren't perfect, but they're perfectly flawed. And that's kind of what made me decide to, come up with the Psycho Wolf character that I used in WCE here. Basically, what somebody best described me as the demented life coach. Like, I'm trying to help people, but I'm doing it in such a way that is kind of questionable.
I just want to kind of get this out there. That way, everybody that's listening to this, when they listen to it later, they know. Everybody be sure to check out youtube.com/RCW rules. That's RULZ. And be on the lookout. They're going to be doing this big show on April 30th. It's going to be the show to kind of start up their new season. So definitely look forward to that. Is there anything else that you want to... Go ahead.
Yes, actually, look, I can actually say one of our big shows this season will actually be a tournament, and it actually is taking place around my birthday this year.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
And to follow the WCE Facebook page, the YouTube, facebook.com/WCE Heat for all the news and updates regarding WCE. And that tournament is going to be very interesting once we do get the full details of it.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard him, folks. Just make sure you check that out. And if there's nothing else you'd like to add, Nicholas, it's been a pleasure having you on. You're definitely welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Pompous. And if you ever find your way up in Wisconsin, you're always welcome to stop by. And if you folks aren't already following, follow the Johnny Pompous Show. He is amazing.
Thank you very much for that. Definitely appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful night. Okay. Now, before we wrap things up,